Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Almost Dropouts podcast. I'm your host, Daivik, and today I have Sid back on the podcast. Sid, you want to introduce yourself again?
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be back as always. Thank you, Mr. Goel, for having me back. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys about what's going on in the world.
Yes, sir. It's great to have you back, and yeah, I guess let's just get started. If you guys don't know from the last podcast, or if you haven't been following his content, Sid is a fellow mechanical engineering student at the University of Waterloo, but he's also an artist, a creator. So he has his own YouTube channel. He's made a feature film or a short film, actually. We'll get to a feature film soon. And he's doing a lot of stuff on the creative side. So whenever he comes on the podcast, I really love talking about his more creative ventures because we've had a lot of people talk about the engineering side of things. Even though, of course, Sid's very qualified for that as well. So let's talk about a recent YouTube video you made. So you talked about handling your tech addiction, and I think that's something a lot of people can relate, even pre-pandemic, where a lot of people felt like they're on their phones constantly, and now, especially with the pandemic, I know I can talk for myself. That's been a big issue. Um, just being able to reduce my screen time or just stay away from that digital life, on a daily.
Yeah, no, I mean, first off, that's such a perfect segue, right? Like, I feel like this is like the intersection of your sort of content and like the sort of stuff I'm always doing, where it is like tech. But let me tell you about this YouTube video I made. No, I think that's like a so to reel back, right? When I actually made that video right at the start of the pandemic, right? I made it in March. Um, and I shot that video and then I sat on it. And I sat on it for about 6 months. And the reason was that after I made it, I looked at it and I was like, I don't fully believe the things I'm saying, right? And I don't, it's not that I don't believe them because of the content, it's that I'm not living out like what I'm saying on this video, honestly. And I never want to release a video that's not something I 100% stand behind, right? If it's up on YouTube, I stand behind it. That's something I truly believe in. So when I made the video, just like you said, the pandemic was just starting, and I was in this place where I'm constantly on my phone, right?
Right.
And I had all these ideas in my head and all this stuff I learned, and I was in a much better place than I've been in the past. But because the pandemic was just starting, even though I made this video about tech addiction, I was also like, oh, dude, I'm on the rise. Like, I'm actually getting back into being addicted to it. So that's why I sat on it. And it took me about 6 months of really like paying attention and being focused and intentional with my usage of my technology to really be able and be confident to say, okay, here's my take on what I've learned about tech addiction. And that take really is that I think it comes down to, for me at least personally, it's come down to the relationship I had with the tech, right?
Right.
It wasn't so much the actions or the activity, it was the way I was perceiving the technology. And the way I talk about it in the YouTube video is that, technology is a tool. It's a tool to allow us to live a more fulfilling, freeing life. But I think often what happens, at least for myself, is that the technology becomes the end, right? Instead of a means to an end, it becomes the end. And as a result
Yeah.
of that, I end up in a cycle where I'm addicted because I'm going to the technology to live as opposed to using the technology as a tool to help me live and live the
Right.
sort of life I want and create the sort of content I want. So that's kind of the big takeaway for me is that tech addiction is often, um, personally for me, my tech addiction didn't stem from the fact of the technology itself, but my relationship to my technology. I felt enslaved by my technology in this kind of hierarchical relationship, as opposed to being thankful for this technology that was going to allow me to expand my horizons, my creativity, and connect with people and live the sort of life I wanted. You know?
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, man. I think that's that's definitely like something I've really struggled with, where it's like I I want to live on a day to day, I'm talking about during the pandemic. I want to live on a day to day where I am and everything, but it just feels like my whole life is online now. Um,
Yep.
and so it becomes really difficult for me to find that balance in between it, where I want to talk to my friends, I want to look online, I want to feel connected with the world because right now I don't feel like that. But at the same time, I don't want to just be staring at a screen all day and like not feel not feel alive, really. Like just feel like I'm a digital slave. And so like even when I think about it, like in the morning, the first thing I do is wake up and check my phone. And I know every day I wake up and I see this. I'm like, yo, why am I doing this? Why is the last thing I do, check my phone, and the first thing I
Yeah.
do, go on my phone. And this is something pre-pandemic I started working on a lot, but like especially recently, it's just been really bad. Um, and yeah, I think it comes down to like it's gone beyond a tool, like you were talking about. Technology has
Yeah.
now become like just a facet of my life that I can't let go, and it's really been a struggle.
And I think that's exactly like you just said. I think people resonate with that a lot, and people really enjoyed that video. I think because it's so common in our generation, right? And we're one of the first generations to really deal with this level of technology and this level of intrusion in our daily lives. And exactly like you said, man, like that I think is the worst thing. Going to bed, last thing I check, waking up, first thing I look at. I hate that. So I've had to set up like rituals for myself in a disciplined system, and still I'm 50-50. Still some days I
Yeah,
miss, right? Um, but I think it's so important because our technology, dude, the phone in our hand to me, and again, this is to me, right? To other people, it's different. It's a tool. It allows me to access information for me to then go out and do things and live. And like excuse me, something I talk about in the video that I really believe is that we vilify our technology to our own detriment, right? And by that, what I mean is like Instagram, right? Instagram's a great example, and we've talked about this offline before. That so often what we say, and like I've done this all the time, is like, oh man, I hate Instagram. It's so fake. Instagram's so fake. I hate it. People only post the best parts of their life. And when you're there, it's like such a honest, fair criticism. It's like, yeah, man, Instagram's so fake. Everyone's only pasting the best person in your life. And then you stop for a second and I thought about it when I was trying to make this video and I was, just ruminating on the philosophy of it. I was like, wait, what am I mad about? Because of course people only post the best part of their life on Instagram. Hell, the reason I'm on Instagram is to see that. And
yeah,
no one wants to go on Instagram, at least I can speak for myself. I don't want to go on Instagram to see someone live their everyday life. I want to go on Instagram to be inspired and see what's possible, see the highlights of someone's life, see this guy with a
yeah,
six pack doing this crazy calisthenic stuff, or see these people on a beautiful vacation, or I want to see what my life could be like. So to me, something like an Instagram, it's meant to be a source of inspiration. And I
right,
don't it's not a fair criticism for me to sit back and say, oh, it's so fake. Because yeah, that's the point. It distills the best parts of people's lives. The problem is my own interpretation of it. The problem becomes the only reason I'm complaining about Instagram is because I'm using it as an excuse to not live the life I want. I'm watching people
right,
live that life, and I'm like, my actual life becomes watching other people live their lives, as opposed
right.
to seeing what they're doing, being inspired by that, and then being like, okay, put my phone down and go on an adventure, you know?
Right. You're sort of like living vicariously through them rather than using them as inspiration to make your
Absolutely.
own life like that.
Exactly. And I feel that's the relationship we have nowadays with technology so much, is that we want to blame it for problems. We personify, right? We make technology this thing and this person who's like affecting our lives and doing things to us. But really, it's like, bro, technology is an inanimate object. You want to spend less time on Instagram? Let me tell you how. I'll give you step by step how to do it. Turn it off. That's it. Done. That's it. Like you don't have to do anything. You have to stop doing a thing. And so for me, the physical part of it was so difficult, right? That part was really hard. And then I realized the only reason the action was hard was because the emotion behind it or the mental behind it was skewed. And until I
Right.
changed my mentality or my perspective on what it actually is, I was really struggling to change my habits with it. And I still do time to time, right? To be completely honest, it's not like I'm perfect. Like even just last night, I was on Instagram all night and I was like, God damn it, how did I end up doing this again? So it's a process, but I can say I've definitely trended positive, despite the fact that the pandemic is going on.
I um I think one of the biggest steps, and I sound really old saying this, but just like recognizing that you do have a problem with that itself is such a big deal. And I remember
Yeah.
I was talking to one of our friends and he was telling me that he challenged one of his friends, like he said one of his friends was addicted to Twitter. And so he challenged one of his friends to let it go for like 1 or 2 days because the guy was like, "No, I'm not addicted. I just love, I just go on it because it's fun, whatever." It's like, okay, yeah, don't use Twitter for like just one day. And like by the 1 hour mark, this guy started cracking like crazy. And that's, it shouldn't take that extremity to realize that you have an issue, right? Um,
Yeah.
and and like that's not to say if you do, it's a bad thing. A lot of us have this issue, but I think understanding that I'm spending too much time doing this, that itself will go a long way because recognition is a big deal. So I definitely
Yeah.
think like dealing with your tech addiction, first step is recognition, then trying to find out, and then second step is trying to find out what the next steps are. How can you slowly start reducing that to a point where it does become a tool again? It doesn't just become your life on a 24/7 basis.
Yeah, I think the technology in our lives should be a means to an end, not the end unto itself.
Yeah,
Really, right? In the simplest way, that's what it is. Your life shouldn't be you watching other people live a life. It should be you living a life because you're inspired by that. Like hell, man. Even with like this whole TikTok thing, right? You Everyone loves watching TikToks. Go make one. Go make a TikTok. Be the person doing it. Like be, and it's like, oh, that's ridiculous. It would look weird. Do you know what's weird? If I put a camera on you in your room of you watching TikToks all day, that's weird. You know,
yeah, that's true.
like go do the things. And I'm not saying that as like a, oh, this is something I do. Like I said, I struggle with this too, but I just, for me, I realize the things I'm trying to achieve and the sort of content I want to create, it's because I don't see the sort of stuff I want to create out there on the internet. So let me be the voice of the messages that I care about, that interest me. And yeah, man, I think it really just comes down to mentality, the relationship you decide to have with technology, because it is a decision.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think, what you touched on there is a pretty good transition to another topic I've been thinking about a lot. Like a lot of people have been talking with me about, how do you get started in content creation? They look at people who have done content creation. They're like, oh, like what do I have to plan out? How do I do this? Or a lot of people just don't feel like they can do it. And the biggest advice I've always had to them is, just do it. Like after you can start planning and think about, well, like, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And planning is good, but at a certain point, you just got to do it, and you'll start figuring things along the way.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on that now that you create a lot of stuff?
Yeah. No, I mean, so and this is definitely not me talking as though I'm a big time content creator. What, like I have like 200 like YouTube followers. It's like, or subscribers, right? But I will say this, right? What I was when I was younger, I was definitely the sort of, like, I was a perfectionist, right? And I used to take very much pride in that. Like, oh, when I do something, it's perfect. Now that I'm a bit older, I'm like, that was stupid. That was like nonsensical. I started shooting videos as a diary for myself. Actually, that's why I started. And I started making them as advice to myself and just to kind of capture my emotions. I started writing. And then I showed one of our friends, actually, Eddie. I showed him some of my videos, and he was like, dude, this is really helpful. You should like release this. And I had no intention of doing it. Um, but then I was like, okay, hell, man, if it helps even one person, let me like put these ideas out. But the funny
Right.
thing was, the minute it went from me keeping a video diary for myself to making videos that I knew would be released to others, everything changed. As the minute like I made that conscious decision, I was like, all of a sudden I was like paralysis, like, what is it, paralysis by analysis or whatever. I was just
Paralyzed.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, oh no, now I have to think, now I have to plan. And then I realized, like, no, I'm not going to do it like this. So my first, if you go to my YouTube channel and you scroll down and you watch the first couple videos, it is literally me grabbing our old like 2008 camcorder and walking around and just talking into it. And what I committed to myself is, I don't care. I do not care what the quality of this content is like, which is very, very adverse, I think, to, at least for me, the advice I'd always given myself. I was always quality over quantity. This time I flipped the switch and I said, screw it. Quantity over quality. I don't care how good these videos are. I'm just going to make them. And the reason I'm going to keep making them is so that I bludgeon the sensitivity to failure or to judgment to myself by just continuing to make them. And to be honest, that is the advice I would give anyone who's trying to create content, is that you need to bludgeon your sensitivity. So when you start, don't worry about quality at all.
Yeah.
Literally, if it's you on your iPhone sitting there and making videos, and that's it, and you don't even edit it, that's fine, because that'll get you in the habit of being okay to release. And now I'm in a phase where now after what, like, God, I don't even know how long. Maybe I've been making this for more than a year, 2 years. Maybe I've been making videos now. If I think about it, that's crazy already.
Yeah.
Wow. Now I've gone and I start thinking about the quality of it. Now I edit and I spend time and I think about lighting and I think about, what I'm saying. Like before, I didn't even write a script. I literally just turned the camera on and started talking.
Yeah.
Now I try and put my thoughts together in an organic way so that by the time it's on video, it's the most distilled, useful ideas for the audience. So I don't know. That's my advice. Same thing with the podcast, right? So I recently started a podcast too. Um, and the first episode, I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what the audio quality is. I don't care how good the conversation is. I'm gonna make it and release it and not think about it. And it's the same. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing right now. Slowly, as I'm building up more episodes and experience, I'm now like, okay, now I got to care about the quality. Now I got to
Yeah.
care about the flow. But I don't know. That's my thought. Just literally just start and just shoot for as much quantity as possible. Don't worry about how good it is because it's gonna
I
suck
think
for a very long time.
I completely agree with you. And I think, I think the first step is just getting over this, like, the self doubt that, oh, I cannot do it, cannot do it. Let's be honest, okay, guys? Even if it sucks, most of the people
Yeah.
who are going to watch it, you're probably not going to get thousands and thousands of people watching at the beginning. You're probably going to get like your friends and family, and they're probably going
Yep.
to say it was pretty good, right? So you're just going to get over this thing at the beginning where it's like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't like just make it. And then for me personally, like I'm in that same boat where the iterative process just makes my content better. I look at the first thing I ever wrote. I wrote an article, I think, about the relationship of buzzwords in tech or something like that. I just randomly
Yeah,
decided
I
to
remember
start
that.
writing this. And I look back at this article and like it was decent, but like it's nowhere compared to what I even made a month later or 2 months later. And the
Yep.
reason why is because like you'll see, like as you start writing, as you start creating this content, you'll naturally start gauging or start understanding what you can do better. Um,
Yeah.
and you'll also be more concise with what you're doing. So definitely, like I'm in that same boat where just you just got to put content out, and you'll naturally start
Yeah.
getting better. That's my philosophy. Um, and then second, I think making a schedule is pretty important, and I'm pretty bad at this. So like
Yeah.
I took like a 2 or 3 month hiatus, so I'm sort of at that beginning stage again. But who
Yeah.
knows? Like
Yeah.
if I didn't take that time off, I definitely thought my content could have kept going like that. So
100%. I think so. Two things that you said are interesting. One, the first thought that kind of popped into my mind is, I think content creation is a very behind the scenes process in the sense of you don't realize how much work goes in to create solid content, but content creation is a humbling process. And it's
right,
humbling because exactly what you said. When you start, people think like an overnight success happens overnight, and that's so false. I read a fantastic book about this, Malcolm Gladwell's David and Goliath. I believe it was David and Goliath, and he talks about the fact that like the Beatles were an overnight success. Except what people don't know is that for almost 5 years or something, and I'm probably wrong about these years. Don't quote me. Go, you can read the version. But they talked about like for 5 years, every single night, the Beatles, no one knew who they were, and they would play as a band for like 8 to 9 hours straight every single night at this club. And this was years before anyone knew who they were. And so content, and the reason I bring that up is because content creation is humbling in the sense exactly what you said. Nobody is going to watch or listen to your content for years besides your friends. And even then, your friends aren't even going to listen to most of it. But they'll listen to one or two and they'll be like, that was awesome, man, right?
yeah,
Um, but that's the beauty of it. That the way I see it, that's the blessing because that means the first couple years when you suck and you're learning your craft, you have no pressure because no one's
yeah,
watching it and being like, this sucks. People are watching it and being like, I don't care. And then during that phase, what is a viral hit? A viral hit is all of a sudden you finally hit your stride. Now you're
it
creating
all
something that's
clicks.
connecting with people. Exactly. And once it clicks,
Yeah,
dude, you're already ready. You already made that content. So I think it's a big benefit. Like when I look at these ventures I'm working on, whether it be film, whether it be content, like I don't even like the term content creation, but film or YouTube or podcasting, I take the Warren Buffett approach to content creation, which is that long term, dude. I am fine with this taking 5 to 10 years to
yeah,
get anyone to watch it because that means 5 to 10 years from now, the stuff I create is going to blow people away because I'll have that experience. So
yeah.
that's the way I look at it.
No, exactly. Like Paul McCartney didn't just pick up a guitar and like become a world like become part of this band, a world famous singer. Like he had to keep working on his craft of singing, his guitar. Everybody in the Beatles had to do that, and then eventually they came together to start working together, and it clicked. Right? Then they made that album. They
Exactly.
came to the U.S. Everything happened, and it's that moment really that you're going towards where you're just trying to keep working on your craft slowly, and eventually, hopefully, you will get that moment where it clicks. It just depends how long you're willing to do it for until that moment comes.
And it's so funny because this is such a like I don't think we're saying anything original, right? That's so cliche. Everyone says that, but it's different hearing it and it's different experiencing it, and that's what I've realized. Like it's people talk about perfecting your craft and spending time being dedicated to it. Like Gary Vee actually says this all the time, right? He's always like, "Don't worry, make content, be patient. No one's gonna watch your content for years." And you love watching. You're like, "Yeah, I'm so motivated." Side hustle, hashtag hustle. Um, and then you actually start doing it. You just grab yourself by the balls and you say, I'm going to do this. And you start doing it, right?
No,
And when you start doing it, you realize how true that is. Just be patient. Don't worry. Like, I am in no rush. I have goals. I have a schedule. I'm very, very meticulous about how I plan my content and what I'm trying to create at this stage. But I don't mind being this meticulous for years. I'm okay with that. Because this game, I think, is the rules to this game is he who holds on the longest is the one who will reap the benefits. This is not a game of overnight celebrity. This is a game of let me hold on for as long as I can, because eventually I'll win.
I think even for me beyond like all of that, like even honestly, even if this doesn't pan out for me, which I think people
Yeah,
have already like people have already told me they love the podcast and stuff. So like even those messages already have sort of validated like okay, I'm doing this for the right reasons. But even if that didn't happen, I think like this is good. This is a good thing for me to do in my free time. I enjoy doing this, right?
that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
I don't feel like a burden when I'm creating content. Probably because I'm not actually doing it for a monetary purpose right now. But
Mhm.
in general, like I just really enjoy it. And so even if it doesn't pan out, I think it's just a fun time rather than just playing video games or watching movies all the time. Trying to do this type of stuff.
Dude, and that's so important because when people say enjoy the journey, I think that's more true. Like it is proven to be more true to me with the creation of yeah. Again, I keep hating content creation for some reason. I don't like that word, but that is to some extent what it is. Like I would make these videos if no one watched them. To be honest, no one really does watch them. Well, that's less true now,
But
but
I watch them.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't stop because it's so much fun to me to do this. Like I love the journey and like getting messages from people. Like when I recently released a video about how to set goals that just blew me away. The amount of positive feedback I got both from the analytics, but also just from people like reaching out to me. And that was just a cherry on top because the truth was I had so much fun making that video. It was so difficult, but it was so much fun. And so by the time I released it, I didn't care. I was like, I had a great time. I can't wait to work on the next one. But the fact that then people came and they had all this stuff to say about it, it's just like you said with the podcast, right? It just makes it's a cherry on top. You're like, this is awesome. That it like I'm doing something I enjoy, and it also happens to be like enjoyable and helpful to people.
Yeah.
Damn, that's amazing.
Exactly. No, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you're already seeing results of how you can help people out. But at the end of the day, even if it doesn't help people out, it helps yourself out. Like I know this type of stuff helps me out. I have something to do on the side. And so that itself is a good enough reason for me to do it. Um,
Yeah, like even the fact of this conversation, right, we could be both sleeping right now, and it's like we could be playing video games, we could be doing anything, and it's like, oh yeah, like that's a thing you could be doing,
yeah.
but this is just more fun to me at least, right? This is more,
Yeah.
and it comes back. It actually it's funny, right? It comes all the way back to what I was saying with the tech addiction thing. That instead of living vicariously through listening to someone else's podcast or watching someone else's videos, to me, I'm doing it. Like I'm very excited. It's an adventure. I love doing this. It makes me feel alive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think it's really funny. So when I first started podcasting, people used to ask me, "Oh, you're making a podcast. So what's your favorite podcast you listen to?" And to be completely honest, I didn't listen to very many podcasts. I listened to maybe one basketball podcast, like when I was eating a lunch or something. But like that's it. right? And everyone used to blow people's mind. They're like, "Yo, how are you making a podcast about listening to people's podcasts?" And I'm like, because I just feel like making it. I don't feel like list like I'll be honest, I don't feel like listening to a bunch of podcasts. I just feel like making them.
Yeah.
I'm making my content. So yeah, I mean I guess that's one other thing I've seen. Like you don't necessarily have to be a super big fan of that content medium or what you're trying to do. As long as there's a desire to make it, you don't necessarily have to fully understand it either. You can just go and try it and then figure it out.
100%. I couldn't agree more. My philosophy when it comes to it, personally, is, and I say personally a lot. I know people like find that funny, but I always try and say personally because like I'm not really making content to like tell people what to do with their lives or to honestly give them advice. Since the beginning, my conception, since the conception of my channel and anything I create, whether that be podcast or YouTube, I'm very clear that this is stuff that I'm learning as I'm getting older, things, thoughts I have that I'm just trying to package and share. And if you find it useful, fantastic. If you don't, hey, l'chaim, bro. Like, fair enough. But
Yeah.
to me, I'm always just trying to tell a story that I think is interesting. And the point I was trying to make is that for me, content creation is about creating the sort of content I want to watch. And it's very selfish. It's very selfish. I have no illusions of grandeur when it comes to my content. I'm not making content for you. I'm making content for me. I want to watch this, or I would have liked younger me to see this. And so as a result of that, it's unbelievably gratifying when people connect or they find it useful. But at the end of the day, even if they don't, I'm very happy making my content because I'm like, this is something I want to make. And that's exactly how I feel about film, right? And about these other things that I'm engaged with, theater and film and the other arts that I'm very passionate about. I believe that the very first most important thing to me is this a story that I want to hear, or a story I want to tell, or a story I want to see? And if it passes that, then only then do I even ask myself the question of like, is this of service to people? Is this a story that I think will heal people or help people or will entertain people? Sometimes it's not even as deep as that. And to be honest, that second question to me is, it's a cherry on top, right? When I'm working on a character, I'm working in film. If it can have that benefit, fantastic. But that's not why I do it. I do it because honestly, it's selfish. I thought it was sick. I wanted to do it. I think it's a beautiful story. That's why I want to tell it. That's why I want to be part of it, right?
So I think that's probably a good time for us to talk about. You have some stuff in the pipeline. So do you want to elaborate? Like you briefly mentioned films, theater. This is your time to shine, man. This is his plug in the video in the podcast.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So we've already been talking about it. I run a YouTube channel. It's just my own name, Siddharth Kumar. And that YouTube channel is like I said, it's about creating content that I find useful. So I just released a video about how to set goals, or how I've learned to set goals, and it's taken me 4 years to make that video because I've gone through a lot of ups and downs and different techniques, and I finally come to a way that's very useful. And the point of the YouTube channel is I'm bringing you along the journey as I move towards my own goals, through the lessons I'm learning, through the skills I'm learning. And my goals I'm very clear with. I want to be one of the greatest entertainers ever. And I know that's a very like, people hear that like, okay, buddy, but it's like that's fine. I don't need you to believe me yet. Like, just come along, trust me. And so that's why I create that sort of content, right? I try and create content that is interesting. It's a mix between a philosophy and very applicable things that I learned. And that's the YouTube channel. So I'm very excited about that because I have a lot of really cool content coming down the line. I've learned a lot about video creation, so the production value is going up. So I'm very excited about that. Another venture I'm working on is my own podcast, #Yanner. Anyone who's followed me for a long time knows that I've hashtag all my pictures, #YANR. And people have asked me for years, and I never told them. And finally, I'm in a place where I wanted to share it and actually expand on that. And for me, it's about, it's actually something I wrote on my high school graduation poster. So if you go to FFCA in Calgary, Alberta, and you find the class of 2018, I think we graduated. If you find their
2016, man, it's been a long time.
God, we graduated in 2016. Jesus. Yeah, but if you go to the 2016 class poster and you find my name, you'll see the thing I wrote under it was, "You are not ready," and it's a quote that's been really close to me for a long time because what it means is that the way I wrote it when I was younger was, you are not ready. Like, the world is not ready for me. I'm going to achieve things and create things that people can't imagine. You're not ready for me. But as I got older, a lot of times it also started to mean like, bro, I'm not ready. Like, I am not ready for the world. And
Yeah.
so it's this saying that's kind of grown with me as I've aged, and it's taken on the hue of meaning that, life as I see it exists somewhere between the world isn't ready for me and holy crap, I'm not ready for the world. And so yeah, there's this kind of beautiful idea that the podcast is centered on this idea of I'm growing up and I'm learning, and I have very high goals and things that I'm very committed and excited to achieve and attempt to do. Um, but I need help. And so I bring people on who inspire me, who educate me, people who, I look up to, who help educate me in the things that I'm interested about. And I thought, hell, these are conversations I'm going to have behind closed doors anyway. Let me just put them out to the public. If even one person finds it useful, awesome. So, I'm looking at talking to financial advisors, right? As I'm getting older, something I'm really interested in is understanding how money works and being financially independent and hopefully one day financially freed up, right? Financially free.
Right.
So I want to talk to experts in that field. And if other young people find that useful, awesome. I want to talk to Instagram influencers and understand how they built their social brand, understand how they played in that field. So that's the podcast, right? The podcast is based around this idea of same thing as the YouTube channel. I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm on a journey. Hey, if you find it useful, please come along. I'd love to share it with you. And then that kind of transitions into the third big venture in my life, outside of engineering, obviously, which is kind of my craft, my bread and butter. I work a full-time engineering job right now. But the thing that really I'm most passionate about and I'm most focused on is film, right? I'm a theater artist by training, and I'm starting to create films. And I had the opportunity to work with one of our very close friends, one of our best friends, Viom. He's the director of the film, and we're working on. And yeah, we shot our first short film back when we were in literally in school. It was called Exam Day, and we literally shot that film in between exams and on the weekends,
Yeah.
as you guys know. Shout out to Daivik being a background character in many scenes because we
Frisbee,
didn't
yeah,
hire him.
frisbee player number two. Let's go.
Um, uh, and so we shot that film. We're both incredibly passionate about film and telling stories, and so Viom has been directing since he was a kid, but he just never had a chance to really go and do it full time. And now I've been acting since before I can even remember, and now it's something I'm very serious about. So we shot that first film, we released it, and we were so fortunate that people actually really enjoyed it, and we got these award nominations at film festivals and stuff, and we're like, holy crap, dude, like there's something here. And so we looked at each other and we said, okay, let's do it. Like, we're serious about this. We both know we're very committed to this craft and we want to learn it. So we bunkered down, and now we're working on our second short film. We're set to start shooting on May 1st, so pretty close now.
Yeah.
And for me, it's I'm constantly working on different characters, and now I'm focused on this film, and I'm working as a producer and the actor for this film, and it's just amazing. It's a journey that I'm so excited about. So if you guys are listening to it, we're opening up. We have an Instagram page, we have a Facebook page, and we're actually going to be opening up crowdfunding for it beginning of April. We're looking for other people's support to help finance this film as well, so that we can kind of create the world we're looking for. So if you guys have an opportunity, we would love for you to go over to a crowdfunding page and drop us a couple dollars. That would be very, very meaningful for us.
And I'll leave all those links in the bio. So if you guys are checking this out, you can check it out right now in the bio. Definitely goes a long way to help these guys out with doing what they're doing. And I think that's actually a really good transition. So the one of the biggest things is you guys are shooting a movie during the pandemic, which is a very
Absolutely.
impressive venture on itself. And I think just I guess taking it back to the tech part, just not
Mhm.
like even like 5 years ago, it had been so tough for a bunch of
Mhm.
university students to plan to film a movie during the pandemic,
Yep.
let alone go shoot it. And so, tell me how that process has been. How has been filming the movie? What has been some challenges, and in general, what's the overall process been like?
Yeah, so our crew, we have a crew of 14 people, and we're spread out realistically all across North America, right? So we have people, I think we're in 4 different provinces within Canada, and then we have some people in the States, including our director, who is actually in the States right now. So first off, yeah, I don't think something like this could have been possible even just 10 to 15 years before, right? Technology has played such a huge role in our ability to connect and collaborate despite our distance. And it's been so key because for us, me and the director, we've been working on this film for over a year, right? Close to 2 years now. We've been kind of talking and bouncing the ideas back and forth from initial script to where we are today. But then as with any production, right? And this is something you don't realize when you're just kind of watching films is the amount of work that goes behind creating a film, right? Like we walk out when the credits are rolling, but honestly, now that I'm making films, I will never walk out when the credits are rolling. Give those people their respect because you don't realize how much work goes behind it. So slowly we started building our team and the ability to Zoom, right? To use Zoom as a conference tool or have a Google Doc or any of these things was so key for us to collaborate in a free flow motion fashion. And then technology today is even more advanced, right? Like we're able to do things like, you can start harnessing things like uh, the democratization of technology has allowed us to do things like create 3-dimensional screenplays. So
Right.
when we're actually doing when we're doing screenplays now, right, we're not just doing it so we have one person sitting and drawing. We literally can use software to create these 3D virtual environments and pan the camera around in this environment to really give us a sense of what we want and things like that. Like what that allows us to do, especially for young filmmakers like ourselves who are resource constrained, and we don't have that Hollywood budget, dude. By the time we're on set, we know what we want to get, and
Exactly.
it really lets us take the straps off on our creativity and just go for it. Because now I can test a million different shots and angles and ideas before I ever have to get on set, and that whole process has been incredibly gratifying and this movie couldn't have been made without it, right?
Right.
Just the ability for us to talk to our marketing team, and everyone's in different time zones, but we can all connect on a single Zoom call. Like that's something we take for granted now because we're so deep into the pandemic. But it's
Yeah.
wild that you can have 40 to 60 people on a call looking and collaborating. That's a wild advancement in our technology. And at the core, I am a technologist. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, and like I said, I work full time right now. It's not lost on me the advancements of our technology, and especially where it's
Yeah.
going to go. Right, both me and you have had the opportunity to actually work in Silicon Valley, and it's like what I've learned during my time there, or here, I guess I should say, I'm still technically working there, is that it's it's remarkable the sort of stuff we're able to do nowadays, and for artists we've really opened up a new dimension of
Yeah.
collaboration and creation.
And I think, like talking about, sort of reeling it back, like when you were talking about the AR set thing, the 3D AR set, or
Mm-hmm.
or like the 3D model of the set. Those are type of things you wouldn't be like if it was available. It definitely wasn't available to the public even like 3 or 4 years
Nope.
ago.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like what you're talking about with the production value, like digital items are free, or like the digital like versioning of it is, or if it's not free, it's a very cheap price. Versus actually going there, setting up the set, buying props, returning props, doing all of that. It's a completely different game.
To your point, dude, it comes back to this idea of the democratization of technology, right?
Right.
um, we've been able to it is accessible, and in a funny way it goes all the way back to where we started this conversation with the content creation and YouTube videos and the podcasting, right? This conversation right now, stereo is an amazing platform because what it allows us to do is it allows me and you to engage in a conversation, and if there are listeners who are engaged and interested, they can be part of it. That's wild. This isn't a phone call. This is a genuine conversation that other people can decide to be a part of. And I think that's so exciting to me because we've democratized it. There's no middleman. There's no A&R man. Same thing with the YouTube videos. Your iPhone today can shoot 4K raw footage. You can make better YouTube videos and, to be honest, films on on your um, on your phone today. If you know what you're doing, then you can on a DSLR if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep. Yep. Technology
right? So
isn't the
that's
reason why you can't do something now. Like there's all.
absolutely, and that's
Yes, sir.
no, sorry. I was just saying that that's yes. Like, there's no if you're someone who's interested in being creative and being part of the creative mildew, you have no excuse now. The only excuse
Yeah.
is um, your own limitations mentally, right? And that's okay, but that's really it. So you can't really blame it now because someone's so interested. Mark Rober, right? Matt Rober, sorry, Mark Rober, I think is his name. The YouTuber, ex Apple. He creates these amazing engineering videos on YouTube and just fun, right? Like, he makes these
Yeah.
machines. He's like the cool uncle, right? He makes these crazy cool machines for no reason besides that they're fun. But what's so interesting is I was watching his videos, and yeah, as someone who's now really interested in film and YouTube videos and making my own, I really pay attention to the structure of a YouTube video. And I caught the reflection of this guy. He was recording something. I caught a reflection of him. This man is literally recording on his iPhone. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
Like, millions of subscribers. I think he has like 5 million subscribers, number one trending. And this guy shoots his entire YouTube videos on his iPhone, just sideways. And I was like, wow, that is that it just goes to show you live in a world now where content is king. You don't need to worry about the means to create.
100%. I mean, even if you look at all the like a lot of Apple ads that come out now, of course they have like stabilizers and do stuff in post and stuff. But the main primary recording like device, and this is something they really express in their ads, is the iPhone. And even then, they look amazing. Like these ads don't look like they were taken. Like you can barely tell the difference that they were taken from like an 8K video camera or like an iPhone at this
Yeah.
point. And
Now
that
I
just
will
really
say
goes
that
to show, right?
yeah, I will say that those cameras are mad souped up. It's pretty funny. They like add these
Of course.
incredible lenses. But no,
Yeah.
you are right. And at the end of the day, the computational power is coming from an iPhone, and that's true. And it's something I'm really passionate about. A project I hope to work on in the future is a shot on iPhone short film. Um, just because I think it's such an interesting medium. Like, you can do things with those cameras and those phones that you can't really do with a traditional setup. Like, think about it, dude. You can toss a phone and like be recording, and you can get a shot that you would need to meticulously plan with a red Komodo to like get it. No, you can literally. I can turn on my iPhone and chuck it across the room and get a shot of what it would look like if you were being chucked across the room.
Yeah, yeah. And it'll look really good. It won't look like bad. It'll look like a very good. You can get some of the stabilization you can get on your phone. It's ridiculous. Just natively, like shooting
Dude.
videos on iPhone looks insane.
I was just editing together a vlog that'll go up Monday on my channel, and there's a scene where it's a behind the scenes. I shot a short documentary for a race car driver when I was in California. Right, he was a fireman, and now he used to be a race car driver. Then he got in a crash, decided to become a fireman, and now he's moving back into racing. Mind you, he's
Mm.
20 years old. Right, so incredible life,
Okay.
incredible person I met.
Yeah.
And so we were shooting a short film for him, or kind of like his return to racing, so he could send it off to Aston Martin and stuff. And I was shooting the behind the scenes of that. And we have this one scene where Tony Tony Wang, right, Unsung Visions is a YouTube channel. He's the lead director on it, so he's shooting, right, and he has this massive stabilizer on his DSLR, and it's like his arms are tired. And we're shooting this scene where the cart is starting. He's revving his engines, and then he's ripping it down the track. So Tony's standing there with his stabilizer, with his DSLR focused, and then he revs it, and he starts. And when the car takes off, Tony's hauling ass behind him, right? He's just running with his stabilizer.
Yeah.
And the shot is beautiful and smooth. And then there's me, and I'm shooting the behind the scenes on my iPhone because I'm just like, this is much easier, right? So I
Right.
take my iPhone, and I forgot to use my stabilizer for that shot. I just, like, when you're shooting a vlog style behind the scenes, it's very difficult to know what equipment you need when, right? So anyway, I'm on my iPhone.
Right.
We're taking the shot, and all of a sudden the car revs and it takes off. Tony hauls ass, he takes off. And I'm standing there, I'm like, oh my God, I need to get this shot while it's moving to make a dynamic shot. So I just start running. I just start running behind both of them. And I was like, oh man, this shot's gonna be useless. Dude, I was editing it in post, and I was blown away. The camera did not shake until I pretty much fell over. The camera was smooth. It looked like a
Yeah.
stabilized, dude. I was blown away. It would look like a stabilized shot up until the point that I literally my hands were like now like flailing because I just couldn't keep up with the speed. And
Right.
it was just it's a testament to the strength of the technology in my palm that I could get a shot like that at that level of smoothness, um, which is literally me just holding a camera in front of my body, trying to keep it at the same level while just ripping it down a racetrack, like full, like I'm sprinting.
Yeah, yeah.
I was amazed. I was amazed.
Yep. Yeah, man. I think, it just goes to show, like, if there's, coming back to that original one conversation we had earlier, if you want to make content, it is on you at this point. Like, almost everybody has a good enough phone to record something. So you just have, like, it really comes to yourself. Are you ready to do it? And if you are, just do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's crazy, man. Like, looking forward to the movie. Once
Thank you.
again, guys, if you want to support the film, When I Break Film is the Instagram handle, and I'll leave the
So,
crowdfunding link whenever it comes up. But so you have a lot of projects going on. You have the YouTube channel, podcasting, the film, and everything. So how's balancing all of that been like?
oh man, yeah. So to give some context to anyone who might be listening here, yeah. So I work a full time job. I'm a full time engineer. Uh, I have to be careful what I say here. I'm a full time engineer at. Yeah, so I work at Apple. Okay, I'm a full time engineer at Apple,
I don't
and I
think
work
I don't
there
think
right
that's
now.
part of the
Yeah, I was
NDA.
trying to figure out what I should say. I'm a full time engineer at Apple. So Monday to Friday, I'm working very long involved hours. Really, it's Friday night is when Friday night to Sunday night is when it's my time. And during that time is when I'm like, okay, this is when I'm going to do everything else. And it comes to the fact that it used to be very difficult to balance my time. It used to be difficult to find time between the podcast and YouTube and film and theater and all this stuff. But it goes back to something we talked about earlier in the podcast where it's, is it enjoyable? Is it fun? Like I spend every hour, the way I see it is every hour that you have that you don't have to do something, you should spend it doing what you want to do to get to where you want in life. So for me, I need a full time job right now. First off, I enjoy it. I'm very thankful to be working at Apple, and I really enjoy working at Apple. But I also need that because I need that income, and I need that for some level of stability. That's what I have to do. Every single minute that I'm not doing what I have to do, I focus on doing what I want to do. And I do that because one day I want to be at a place where it's my decision now. It's not that I'm at a place where I can make the choice that okay, I'm not having to work here. I'm going to choose to either work here or I'm going to go and pursue the other ventures I care about. So for me, the balance is very much first, like you said, scheduling. Especially when it comes to content, you gotta have a schedule. My commitment at the beginning of this year, 2021, was, you know, with the YouTube channel, I am going to release a video bi-weekly for this entire year, right? And once the podcast started up, what I did is I plugged in those weeks where I'm not releasing a YouTube video with the podcast. So having a schedule for content is very important and staying ahead of it. Because if you get to a point where you only have 2 weeks to make your YouTube video and you're behind, that can be tough. That can be very difficult.
Right.
The other thing is you can't spend. I think it's very difficult to spend your time on a side hustle or a passive income source or anything that you don't care about. I love making YouTube videos. I love having these podcast conversations. And I, more than anything, genuinely love film and storytelling and theater, right?
Right.
So just now, right, as the movie's coming up, I just finished a theater show. I just had my last show yesterday for a theater show I was part of. So I was actually doing full time work, theater, working on the film, YouTube, and the podcast. I don't say that to brag. I really don't think it is anything to brag about there. The reason I say it though is because anything that I didn't, anything that was outside of my work was to me a craft. It was something I loved doing. So for other
Right.
people, that might be something else, right? A lot of people are into investing, right? That's something I'm getting into recently. Um, you have to build up your time with priorities and just recognize that you own your own time. You are the master of your own time, and it's very easy to forget that or to let that idea slip and to feel at mercy to other people. And a lot of people can be in that situation. Don't get me wrong. I'm very fortunate that I'm that in a lot of ways things were just dropped in my lap by luck. And then also I worked really hard in some regards to set myself up in a position. But everyone has some degree of ownership over their time, and it's up to you
Right.
what you do in that. And so I just yesterday I had a fantastic podcast with a close friend of ours, actually Eddie, and he's an incredibly high achieving individual, right? He's going to be working at Google, and then right after Google, he got offered a an internship at McKinsey, which is the world's biggest consulting firm, right? So this
Right.
guy's excellence transcends one field. He's excellent in engine as a software engineer, but he's also excellent as a as a
Business guy.
consultant in a business
Yeah.
world. Yeah, in the business, like he's an
Mhm.
incredibly high achieving individual. And something I talked to him about was this idea that you have to associate your actions with your emotions, as opposed to having your. Let me find a better way to say that. You have to associate feelings of positivity with doing things that make you closer to who you want to be. So to
Right.
me, when from Friday night to Sunday, it just zooms by because I'm just working. I'm editing and I'm creating content and I'm having meetings for this film and I'm leading this marketing team and I'm doing this. Like it's wild, but I love it. So that by the time I get to Sunday night, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for another week of work. Um,
Right.
and don't get me wrong, it is difficult, but it's a priority thing. What's most important to you? I do not want to be in a position for the rest of my life where I am forced to work to make my forced to work for a company or for anyone really where I have to make that is the only way I can make my living. That's not what I'm interested in. A lot of people are not interested in that. The difference is what are you going to do about that? You can't sit back and just be like, oh, whatever, you have to
Right.
make a commitment to yourself and be like, no, all right, I'm going to bunker down and I'm going to choose to find things that will help me get out of this situation I'm in where I'm single sourced on my income or I'm single sourced on my skill set.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna, and I think this is where a lot of people mess up, is that, but you have to choose things that are interesting to you. The truth is, you can
Right.
make money doing anything. You really genuinely can make money doing anything. It's just some things are a lot harder to make money in. So if you're
Yeah.
interested in it, you have to learn certain skills, right? Like I'm always trying to take courses, preferably free, especially given how much content there's on YouTube. I'm always trying to take courses
Yeah.
on stuff to learn how I can better facilitate myself in those certain fields. And so I know your initial question was how do you balance everything, and I've kind of gone off on a couple tangents, but the
No, no, but
idea is
no, this is great.
I,
Yeah.
I balance my time based on my priorities, and my priorities are creating art that inspires me and that I believe is of service to myself first off, and then to the larger community if possible. And then if that's a if that's something that I'm passionate about, if that's what my commitment is to, I just orient my time around that. And I don't complain. I don't miss like I don't mind missing a party. I don't mind not being able to hang out with my friends if I'm doing something that to me is like, damn,
Yeah.
this is important. This is meaningful to me. And so the most recent video I made, actually, how I set goals, I really tried to sit down and lay it out in a step by step fashion. That's what I tried to do. I tried to take this conversation we're having that's a bit more philosophical and say, it's taken me 4 years to figure out how to say this. This is what I'm trying to say. This is the steps that I take to orient my time and set goals and chase the things I'm trying to do. And that's what I'm trying to do on the YouTube channel now. Right? On the YouTube channel, I'm trying to create content that is very to the point about no, this is the philosophy behind what I'm trying to do, and here is step one, step two, step three. So if you as a viewer are watching this and say, damn, this is something I'm interested in, I try and provide to you the roadmap that I've learned in hopes that it'll be of service. And again, if it's not, hey, fair play, Laheim. If it is, fantastic. Like, what more could I ask for? If I'm useful to at least one
Mhm.
person, like, sick.
No, man, for sure. I mean, I think you've covered a lot of bases on that question about balancing your time, trying to find things that you, if you are doing other projects, trying to find things that interest you, of course. Um,
Mhm.
and then obviously it becomes a lot easier doing that. if you're doing
That's
stuff that doesn't interest you, that commitment just goes away. It will
you,
naturally,
you
right?
just can't keep it up, dude. And the thing is, like, something that people always say on YouTube. especially when I was growing up, I watched all these videos like, how bad do you want it, right? And they talk about you have to be working to work, you have to be willing to work 10 to 12 hours a day. And like when you watch those videos, honestly, I would always watch them and be like, but bro, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to work 10 to 12 hours a day on my side hustle after working 10 to 12 hours on my job. But I think the thing those YouTube videos missed, while they were incredibly motivating, was that you will not mind spending those 10 to 12 hours as
Right.
much. Don't get me wrong. You will mind to some extent, but you won't mind nearly as much if it's something that's exciting and interesting and you feel ownership over. So when I spend so in my day job, right? When I'm working as an engineer, I work 10 to 12 hours. It's the nature of my job. It's a very involved job. But on the weekends, I also end up working like, 8 to 10 hours trying to create these videos and this content. But those 8 to 10 hours, bro, I love those hours. I'm not sitting there like, oh
Yeah.
man, I really put in some work today. I'm like, oh, this was great. This was fun. So I don't mind. I feel ownership over it. And I think that's a big thing, that the side hustles or the side hobbies or anything, any project you pick up outside of your time, you have to feel ownership over it. Because until you feel like you own it, if you no, let me say it like this. If you don't feel like you own it, it's gonna feel like a job. And if you feel like you're doing it to make someone else money, or you feel like you're doing it to make someone else's life better and not your own life better first,
Yeah.
good luck. Good luck, bro.
I think it's really like, one of those things you talked about for the YouTube videos is like that it came from a place of like how much do you want it, like, just to motivate you to sort of like power through it. But
Mhm.
I think, like you said, the thing they miss is like, yeah, doing your side hustle, it shouldn't necessarily require you to just have to like power through it all through sheer will. Like there could be days
Absolutely.
where it does, but that shouldn't be every
Absolutely.
single day you're working on it, right? If there should be
Dude,
some inherent
100%.
motivation that you feel good doing it, and it's just like you
Mhm.
actually want to do it rather than just forcing yourself to do it every single day.
Like just so I said earlier, right? My commitment was bi-weekly I'm gonna release a YouTube video. And what ended up happening was that this I got sick this week, right? Not COVID. Hashtag I'm safe. But
Okay.
I got sick, and I
Yeah.
was like, crap, I'm not gonna be able to release this video. But then I stopped for a second. I'm like, but I made a commitment. Like I said I was going to. So you just said sometimes you have to push through, and I was like, I got to. So I just literally the day I was sick, I couldn't get out of bed, but I was like, you know what I can do? I can move my fingers. So I grabbed my
Yeah.
computer and I was just there laying in bed and I edited. I edited all day. Because I couldn't do anything else, right? And don't get me wrong, it kind of sucked. It was hard. Like my body was incredible amount of pain and stuff. But I'm not saying this to be like, yeah, bro, I chiseled through it, dog. Like hashtag hustle. No, it's like shut up,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about the fact that sometimes it's a struggle, sometimes it's a bit hard. But again, like I own that, man. These videos that I put out, those are my videos, my reputation, my name. It's part of my artistic vision, right? And as someone who has a foot in both fields, I am a technologist, but I'm also at heart deeply, deeply an artist, and someone who's interested in the beauty behind life and the aesthetics behind life. So to me, it's a mix of those two worlds, and when I create content, it's my name, bro. It's my reputation. It's
Yeah.
the sort of content I want to create. So if it's crap, or if I made a commitment, I'm not putting it out. That my boss isn't the one who's going to get yelled at for that, or I'm not going to get like I'm not doing it for someone else. I'm the CEO of that YouTube video, so
Right.
I'm the only one
Yeah.
I'm going to disappoint.
Yep. For sure, man. No, the 100%. But yeah, I think. No, I think that's a pretty good conversation. I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up as well. We've been going on for an hour now, so thank you so much
Wow,
for
that
coming
was
on to the.
fast.
Yeah, that was a quick hour, man. But thank you so much for coming on to the
No,
podcast, man. It was a great conversation, and really looking forward to your projects.
absolutely. No, thank you so much, man. It's always an absolute pleasure to talk to you and be on here. I love talking to you, man. You're like my brother, but it's cool. You always inspire me and give me like new ideas that I end up thinking about. And hell, one day it'll end up being a YouTube video, probably.
All right, man. Well, looking forward to that, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining on to the podcast. Take care till the next one, and hope everyone is staying safe.